Whether you call them chilies or peppers or dried chilies or dried peppers or dried chili peppers, they can introduce fabulous flavors to your recipes. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Join me today for a cornucopia of recipes using chilies today on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? Welcome to SoFlo Taste here in the Goya Kitchen at JA World in Coconut Creek. Do you use dried chilies in your cooking? Well, you should, because they're wonderful and add flavor to recipes, not just heat. Yes, there's some hot ones, that's for sure, and I'll show you some today, but they don't all have to jump off the Scoville scale and into your tummy. So today I thought it would be fun to give you some recipes using chilies that are flavor bombs, but without the heat. Well, at least without all the heat. So let's get cooking. The first recipe is chili crunch. Chili crunch has become something that is made in so many places by so many people, and so many chefs are making it now, and it comes in a jar, and it's chilies and garlic and all kinds of stuff, and I just wanted to see what was in there because I want to make it for you and with you. So the first thing I have cooking is actually caramelized shallots. And the reason why it's already going is because it takes at least 15 to 20 minutes on a low heat to caramelize shallots. You slice them really thin, you just throw them in a whole lot of oil, and you just wait. Don't let them sit though. You want to every once in a while kind of shake that pan a little bit to get them all moving. In this pan, I have garlic going in oil as well to turn golden. Now the garlic is much quicker than the shallot. Let's talk about chilies because that's really what the show is about today. I'm going to introduce some chilies that you might have never heard of. I didn't until I got into this. So this one is called Kashmiri chili, and this one is spicy. When we ground this, we take the seeds out, and then we just threw it into a spice grinder or coffee grinder and made that. There's one chili that I was looking for that I actually couldn't find. I call it a Japonés, maybe because I'm Latin, but it could be a Japonés. Because I couldn't find it, I also read these articles that said that you could combine different chilies to make the flavor. So I brought guajillos, which is kind of a medium heat, delicious, and that's what this is: stemmed, seeded, deveined, and ground. Now, you could use fresh Thai chilies in the place of the Japonés or Japonés chilies if you want to, but we're going to set that aside because I went with the guajillo. Then, chile de árbol, pretty spicy, and you find that a lot in Mexican dishes that you want a little heat. Same exact thing that we did over here. Then, this is called mushroom powder, and this stuff is really easy to find. It's in all kinds of supermarkets. I bought it online, but you don't have to. It gives an amazing flavor, and by the way, it's really good for mushroom pasta. This, you might look at me a little funny. It's MSG. It's called Ajinomoto. It brings out a flavor that you can't bring out naturally. So my shallots are pretty caramelized. I'm gonna go ahead and strain them into this bowl. My garlic is almost there as well. And then we're gonna heat the oils and pour them into the chilies. So let's go ahead and put the chilies, all these ground up chilies, together in a bowl. And this is gonna be our dish. This is gonna be our finished chili sauce. A little bit of julienne ginger. The MSG I talked about, a very little amount. A little bit of ground black pepper. This is the mushroom powder, some of it. And this is just regular kosher salt. A little bit of sugar to balance all that out. And then finally, I wanted to show you the star anise, whole star anise that I'm in love with, and I use them a lot. And then I wanted to show you a little something about cardamom. A little bit of cumin goes into this as well, about a teaspoon. Okay, our garlic just became golden. I'm gonna go ahead and strain that in here. All right, we're gonna take this hot oil and we're gonna pour it into this pot and bring it up to a very high temperature of 375. And I'm gonna put a thermometer in it so I don't mess that up. Let me show you a little something about cardamom. Cardamom is a beautiful spice. And when it's whole, it's called cardamom. And when it's not whole, it's called decorticated cardamom. And it's a black seed on the inside. And cardamom comes in a couple of different colors, and those colors smell just a little tiny bit differently, I think. So very simply, to decorticate cardamom. You just take a knife and you press on the cardamom. And then as you can see, the seed breaks and you get these little tiny pods. And they smell so good. So let's just take those pods and put them into our mix. So we're basically done here. The last thing we're gonna do is add the garlic and the shallot to the mix. Let's see what temperature. We're really, really close. We only have about 20 more degrees to go. Let's quickly mix this together. So for this, I thought it would be kind of cool to show you. I mean, there's so many things this sauce can go with, and I'm talking about anything. Cold noodles, piece of steak like this one, a piece of fish, fresh crab meat, tuna, vegetables, you name it. But I'm going to show you how well it will go with this. All right, so we hit 350. We're going to pour this right into this, and this is going to be hot, so just back up a little bit. And the beauty of this is that this oil is cooking the ginger. It's bringing out the flavor of the chilies. The smell is beautiful. It doesn't smell spicy, it smells fragrant. And remember, chilies are fruity, it's fragrant, it's just delicious. So let's just spoon a little bit of this yumminess right over our steak. And I think it's a beautiful way to start our dried chili show. I have dessert, I have savory, I have breakfast, I have everything. So come back so I can show off what I've got going on with some dried chili.
Stick around. Things are just heating up in the Goya kitchen at JA World on SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste, where I'm using dried chilies today. The heat in chilies is created by the chemical capsaicin. The chemical tends to bury itself into the surface of our palate and mouth, which I have right now, causing that burning sensation. Capsaicin is produced by plants to deter animals from eating them, but clearly it hasn't stopped us from eating them. Do you know the best ways to stop the burn? Well, I'll tell you later, but for now, let me keep the dried chili recipes coming. I have a beautiful one right now. I'm going to teach you how to make salsa de chile, which is a salsa roja, a red chili sauce. I like to use it for chilaquiles, what I'm going to make for you today. So for the dried chilies, I've decided to use a pasilla chili, which is one of my personal favorites because it is kind of a mild to medium heat, but it has the most delicious dried fruit flavor to it. And let me show you. So this is a pasilla, and it's beautiful. And it really, it reminds me of like dried apricots and dried peaches. Just delicious. And then the spicy chili that I'm using is chile de árbol, and that's what this is. If I could recommend one thing for you all, make sure that the chilies that you're using are fresh. Now, of course, they're dried, I know, but fresh. The longer you keep a chili, the worse it gets. Honestly, all the flavor kind of dissipates with time. So let me show you real quickly how to cut a chile. And the best thing is to put gloves on. For the dried chili, always start with a stem, and you always want to remove the seeds as well as the veins. They do cause bitterness, and it's the spiciest part of the chili. So go ahead and cut the chili, and always have a bowl underneath it to collect the seeds. So inside this chili, there are some veins and there are some seeds. So let's shake out the seeds, and then when it comes to the little veins, which are the lighter in color, you can cut those out either with your hands or using the scissor again. So let's do that again. You see this one? This shows you the vein a little bit better. So we can get in there, and the vein just is calling me to pull it out. So we're going to use the scissor and go ahead and cut it off there, and then cut it off here. And that comes right out. And then basically you take them and you cut them into smaller pieces like so. There's some recipes that have you toasting the chilies in oil and some that have you going right into some hot water like I have next to me right here. They only need to soak until they start to really just soften as this. You see how pliable this is? You can tell that it's just really nice and soft. Not only are we going to use these chilies, but we're also going to use a little bit of the water as well, because the water does have obviously some flavor. So let's go ahead and put them into a blender with a little bit of its water, not too much. We don't want to water it down. And of course I have the one spicy chili, the chile de árbol, and then the mild chili, I have 3 of them, which is the pasilla. In this toaster oven, I'm actually broiling some tomatoes, onion, and garlic. Don't chop anything. You can cut the tomatoes in half. The onion is called for just 1/4 of a chunk, and then the garlic cloves are whole. Let's go ahead and puree the chilies first, and then we're gonna add everything that's in the broiler right now. I've been doing a lot of research about the dried chilies and making chili sauces from Mexico, and I found this beautiful old book of mine, and it called for toasted sesame in the tomato and chili sauce. And I thought, wow, how beautifully interesting. Mole takes a lot of sesame seeds as well. And I think all those flavors combined make something a little more complex than the typical red chili sauce. So I went ahead and I added them to my sauce. So the next thing we're gonna do is take everything out from our toaster oven. Everything is softened quite a bit or charred a little bit on the top, which is exactly what we're looking for. And we're just gonna put this right into the blender. The tomatoes are good and mushy. A lot of people call to peel the tomatoes, but I like to keep a little bit of that char flavor in them. A pinch of salt, a heavy pinch of salt, and then let's puree all that together until it's really nice and pureed well and homogeneous. Okay, there's one more thing we have to do to make this sauce complete, and that is to fry it. Normally I would go in a smaller pan, but I'm just gonna go right into this pan and we're gonna go right into the chilaquiles. I have a cover to the pan because when you do fry a sauce, what happens is it pops and goes crazy, and it can really cover you with chile sauce. So this part, please just be a little careful with. It smells so good. So it's beautifully pureed and just gorgeous. It really isn't the sauce until you fry it. So you really have to do this step. Pour a little vegetable oil into a pan. And because this is so big and I don't want anybody getting hurt, I'm just gonna pour it in real quick now. And I'm gonna cover it. How nice was that? This is really the part of the sauce that causes all of the flavors in here to really pop. When you toast something in oil, just like you do with a lot of chilies, you're really giving it wonderful flavor. I'm gonna lower the heat and we can smell it now. Now it's become beautifully fragrant. Okay, we're good to go. So now I have this gorgeous sauce in this pan. The only thing left to do is make chilaquiles. We're gonna throw some just fried tortillas into our chilaquile sauce. If you wanna just buy some tortilla chips, it's all good. In this pan, I'm gonna quickly fry an egg, and when you come back, we're gonna bring it all together. So don't go too far away, because if you've never had a chili-infused brownie, you haven't lived. I'll see you in a minute.
Join me, design expert Elena Capra, for SoFlo Home Project, immediately following SoFlo Taste.
We'll see what's cooking on SoFlo Taste right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste as I give you dried chilies recipes. As I always am, I'm here at the wonderful world of JA here in Coconut Creek, a great place dedicated to our kids. For more information, go to jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to SoFlo Taste. All right, our chilaquiles are made. The chips cooked in the sauce. Some of them softened and some of them that were more on the top were crisp, and I do that for a reason. I do want that difference in textures. The fried eggs went right on top, and then to garnish, we're gonna do a little bit of Mexican crema, a delicious sour cream-like sauce, and then a little bit of queso cotija, which is kind of like queso fresco, but a little drier, and you can find them already crumbling. And then finally, for a little bit of green, some cilantro for the top. And the one thing that I love about this recipe, it's not too spicy. Let's see how it came out. This is so good. And that sesame flavor, oh man. All right, so let's move on. I don't know if you've ever had chocolate and chili together, but it's really just the most beautiful combination. We found this recipe on Serious Eats. I really wanted to bring Aleppo pepper to you today. It's a beautiful chili. Normally, you would find it like this, which is more of a flake, but you can also find it like this, which is a powder. The one thing I love, it's fruity, it's fragrant, it is spicy, and this recipe does pack a little bit of a punch, especially 30 seconds after you put it in your mouth. So let's jump into the recipe for the brownie. So over this bain-marie, or hot pot of water, I have melting some chocolate chips and some butter, and I'm almost there. This is a beautifully small recipe. It'll fit perfectly into a nice square pan. Once your chocolate and butter have melted together, let's go ahead and pull this off while we keep stirring. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the Aleppo into the bowl, and this uses a good amount of Aleppo pepper, this recipe, and I loved it. So I'm going to go for the whole amount, a little bit of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. Highly recommend the salt. Changes everything. Salt is always a game changer when you're baking because it really does just bring out the flavor of everything, especially that fragrance and the fruitiness of the Aleppo. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is the sugar. Then we're gonna add a couple of eggs that I mixed up. So the bowl is warm, so just watch your hands. And you want this to be homogeneous before we add the flour. Let's let it come together completely, and I'll bring it a little closer to you so you all can see it. It's a very tight recipe, just so you all know. It takes a little bit of muscle to bring it together. And then finally the flour. I haven't tried this recipe yet with gluten-free flour, but I think because brownies are usually pretty forgiving, that it would probably work perfectly fine. All right, a little more muscle. And there you have it. It's beautifully smooth. I didn't overwork it once the flour went into it, and we're gonna just go right into the square pan. So just so you know, the pan has parchment paper. Everything has been sprayed with a little bit of cooking oil. Making sure I protect myself, go ahead and pour this right into the pan. Make sure you try to get every last little bit. Now, if you have a family like mine that my husband loves the spicy, my son doesn't like any, and I'm kind of in the middle, I think you go with about half the amount of chili for this, and you gradually get them up to the level of possibly my husband, maybe a little less, just so that they will fall in love with it little by little. So I'm gonna throw this into the oven, and then you'll come back and of course see how delicious that brownie turned out. So, okay, I told you that I'd give you ways to stop the burn from chilies that are too hot. So water is totally worthless because the capsaicin does not dissolve in water. Water actually is really bad. It just spreads the hot stuff all over your mouth. However, liquids rich in fat, milk is awesome, but I think yogurt is even better. It will help eliminate the burn. So this is why yogurt is often served with hot Indian dishes. So I'm gonna go get a glass of milk, put this in the oven, and I'll see you in a minute. Come right back. SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste, and here are our beautiful Aleppo pepper brownies. Let's open one up and see. I want to see if you can actually smell. See, I get nothing. Nothing. Nothing yet. All right, there we go. It takes a few seconds, whew, and now I got it, and it's so delicious. Thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't tried these dried chilies, please do. Oh my goodness, they just add so much to the recipes, and I'm not just talking about heat, just so much flavor. Opa! Next week I'm Greeking out with recipes from the land of Socrates, Homer, Plato, Alexander the Great, and Zach Galifianakis. So join me next week here on SoFlo Taste for some of my best Grecian formulas, recipes that is. These recipes are good enough to follow the Greek custom of breaking the dishes when you finish. But if you do that, how will you get seconds? Ay, ay, ay. Now let's check in with design expert Elena Capra, host of SoFlo Home Project. Good morning, Elena. What are you up to next on SoFlo Home Project?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So today we're talking about the spice of design, which is color, and a hint of seasoning with texture. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we show you how to add both of these elements to create one bold and beautiful space.
Thanks, Elena. We'd love to peek into artists' homes. We'll be watching. So my taste buds, please be smart, be safe, and be vaccinated, and stay where you are for SoFlo Home Project and Elena. I'll see you next week. Goodbye and good taste. On the straight and habanero.